Let's make some noise. Come on.
Right indeed, Nick Foles. Let's make some noise because you're back. We're back. We all here to the final word on It's a Wrap Sports Network with your boy MattyB on the call on this Independence Day Eve. Is that a thing? I just make something up. Am I creating a trend? Independence Day Eve, July 4th Eve, July 3rd, 2025, your Thursday night, our final episode of a productive broadcast week. It's on the air like 3 times this week, or 4 times. I don't remember. 3 or 4. I know it was more than 2 or more than 1. So we're finishing up a productive week here on the program. Quiet night on the sports scene in Philadelphia. No Phillies action tonight as we are in between series between the Padres and the Reds. Flyers, obviously the big story of the week. The draft and free agency. Those conversations and topics are still on the table. We could talk about that. The Phillies, they took 2 out of 3 from the Padres. And yesterday's game 1 was not necessarily very inspiring. We can definitely get into the Mick Abel conversation. Another kind of laborious start for Abel as the Phillies starters yesterday, or Phillies pitching in general. I shouldn't say just the starters, but in game 1 yesterday, issued 9 walks to San Diego Padre hitting. Not good at all. But, Mick Abel's going to receive the brunt of the criticism for game 1's performance, even though he was not alone in poor pitching as well as poor hitting. They got some offense late, but it wasn't nearly enough. But they bounced back nicely in game 2. Chris Sanchez with another dominant effort as, the Philly pitching staff, or I guess the rotation, continues to assert its dominance over National League and Major League Baseball hitters. So the Phillies get the 5-1 win there, and they take 2 out of 3 from the Padres as we now wait for the Reds to come in. And July 4th weekend, a matinee 1 p.m. start down at the bank on July 4th. For those of you that are going to brave the holiday traffic, I go nowhere near Center City, South Philadelphia. I-95. I go nowhere near that on this weekend. It is chaotic. Really not even that doesn't even sum it up how bad it is. So, but if you're going down to the bank this weekend, I mean, obviously there's no other place I'd rather be than at a baseball game on July 4th. And luckily the Phillies actually have a game on July 4th because that's not the norm anymore. It's not. Baseball's gone weird over the last few years. If you've noticed the trends in the Phillies schedules over the last couple seasons, there's been days on July 4th that they have not played. 2022 was a no July 4th baseball here in the city of Philadelphia or anywhere. The Phillies weren't playing. So be happy that we got baseball on July 4th. I think it should be mandated in the CBA for all Major League Baseball teams to be playing on July 4th. I don't think there's anything. I mean, it's obviously the biggest American holiday there is. And why not celebrate America's game by having every baseball team in the country? And I don't care what level of you are, MLB all the way down to Pee Wee or Little League. You should be playing on July 4th. It is the national pastime, and you should be celebrating it on the nation's birthday. But the Phillies will be in action tomorrow, so we can preview the Red Series a bit. We are going to resume MattyB's greatest trades in Philadelphia Philly history tonight. We're going to reveal number 6 and 5 on my list. We've gotten down. We kind of stalled out the list. It started, it stopped, but Joe Hale wanted to hear more about it, so we're going to give 2, not 1, but 2 tonight of my greatest trades in Phillies history, 6 and 5. The other night segment is we'll continue to look at not only Phillies prospect players, but MLB draft targets the Phillies should be looking at here in the next week because we got MLB draft in about a week. And that's interesting because we're getting ready to get to the All-Star break. And our card review, all that greatness tonight on the program as we wrap up a very productive broadcast week here on the program. And on the network, a lot of talk has been asked, a lot of chatter, I guess, coming out of, are we going to be live and direct over the weekend? And I can answer that question unaddubitably by saying absolutely we will be. And that starts tomorrow with the Fighting's final promptly after the end of the Phillies game. By all accounts, I think he's doing it. I haven't heard anything to the contrary, but Al will be with you tomorrow afternoon around 4 p.m. as he'll be bringing you Fighting's final action. And then as Pat and me will finish out the weekend. But we are all systems go for the holiday weekend. We don't take any time off. It's a reflection of the owner. The owner doesn't take any time off, nor do the employees. Now, no one's asked me no one's asked for it. Actually, one person has, and obviously they're not going to work, but no one else has asked. So I'm assuming we're going to do it. And tomorrow night at 10:30 after or actually it won't be long after the Phillies game, but the wraparound with Pat Bernard will be seen at its regularly scheduled time. And then on Sunday, your weekends will not be the same, to include July 4th weekend, as Pat and Mike will be bringing you the PM in the AM program. So all that stuff here on the network over the next weekend, as we don't take any time off. Joe Hale, how are you doing tonight? Painter did okay today. Yeah, Andrew Painter pitched tonight. The game is still ongoing. It was in a little bit of a rain delay up there in Lehigh Valley in Allentown. Was it the Pigs and the what are you playing? Is it the Rail Riders? Yeah, the Rail Riders. So it'll be the Phillies versus the Yankees in AAA action. Andrew Painter got the nod tonight. He did okay, but for all the hype surrounding Andrew Painter allegedly getting shut down at the All-Star break, which means his impending call-up, I don't know, man. Did okay. I don't know if he's ready, Joe and everybody else. I don't know if Andrew Painter's ready to play pitch in Major League Baseball, and we're definitely going to kind of pull back the layers of some imbeciles out there who believe that Mick Abel needs to be shipped out of here because of 2 bad starts. We're going to peel back some layers about that tonight. And I still maintain that the Phillies starting rotation is their strength, a big strength that they're going to have to ride in order to somehow secure World Series glory, if that's even possible. They can just win it on pitching. I know pitching wins championships, but good God, we need some offense. But we'll get into the pitching aspect. Obviously, Mick Abel will be the front page story on that. So that will be definitely on the table tonight. And Joe House is 2 days before my birthday. Well, happy early birthday, Joe. Your birthday is on July 5th. Interesting. Cool birthday to have. It's like having a birthday on Christmas. And I guess that's the other question I want to throw out to the assemble tonight. This is one of the big holidays of the year, right? If you look at it, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, 4th of July, it's one of the top 5 biggest holidays in the of the calendar year. What is, if anything, out there your go-to July 4th experience? I know a lot of us are older people and been around the block a little bit, and we've all kind of grown up in the Philadelphia area. I wonder if it's a regional thing, how you would want to spend your July 4th. Is it a national thing? Like, I know, when you think of Memorial Day, you think of barbecues and cookouts and, picnic type stuff. But when I think July 4th, I think of the beach. That's always been sort of my memories as a kid, always being down the shore on July 4th weekend. And again, I don't know if this is a regional thing or if this is maybe not even a thing. Maybe people, change up their 4th of July plans week to week or year to year. But what, if any, images and do you have a go-to for July 4th weekend in terms of vacation or even what you want to do? Like, for example, when you wake up tomorrow, are you jonesing for something? Like, hey, I should be at the beach, or I should be up at the Poconos, or I should be at a baseball game, or I should be sitting in a bar room in the dark, whatever. Is there something that is synonymous with you, or even at a cookout? Is there something synonymous with you for July 4th? And I'd be interested to hear if there is, because again, as I said, for me, it's the beach, which I will not be going to this year. This is actually the 3rd year in a row. Wow. 3rd year in a row that I have not gone to Wildwood or the beach on July 4th weekend. The last time was in 2022. I have not been back since. Wow. What the hell's been going on with my life? But that is kind of my thing. My wife, who, by the way, happy anniversary, my love. Today is our 1st wedding anniversary, a year of blissful marriage. I survived. We celebrate today, July 3rd. We got married last year. My wife now, I remember when we were dating, like maybe we were together 2 years or so, 2 or 3 years we were together, and she's like, well, let's go to the beach on Labor Day weekend. And I was like, Labor Day weekend, I don't know, man. Yeah, I know it's summer, and I know it's the last weekend of summer, but to me, the beach was never associated with Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend's always been at home. You got football, college football. You start back when I was growing up. There were some years that the pro game started on Labor Day weekend, but it just never. To me, Labor Day weekend is a transitional holiday for me. I'm ready for the fall. You're right. You know what I'm saying? It's like summer kind of holding on for one last weekend, and I'm just done with summer, and I just want to move on to the next cool time of the year, which is the fall, my favorite time of the year. So she begrudgingly drugged me to Wildwood on Labor Day weekend. I had a terrible time, not because of the people I was with. It just didn't seem right to be sitting on the beach on Labor Day weekend. It seems right sitting on the beach on July 4th weekend. It seems right sitting on the beach Memorial Day weekend, and any time in between. It just didn't seem right to go on Labor Day. So, we spoke about that quite a bit throughout the weekend. Not not in a negative way, but yeah. But happy anniversary to Nina. 1 year of marriage. Let's make it 2. Let's try for number 2. Joe says he wants to see Painter in September. We'll get to that second, Joe, because I think that's an interesting prognosis, or an interesting want. I honestly do. I used to go to Wildwood. Michael Papernick says on July 4th. Yes, so did I. Again, as recently as 2022. Not every year, because I was in the Army for 30 years, and there were some times that I, was nowhere near Wildwood. Matter of fact, you haven't experienced life until you celebrate 4th of July in Afghanistan or Iraq. Now that's some fireworks. But no, I used to go a lot too. When I think of, and I obviously think of Harry Callis, Richie Ashburn, Jaws, radios on the beach, sounds of summer, smells of summer, all that. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's what July 4th weekend is. And I know everybody has their own. Everybody has their own, like, what it's synonymous for. I used to know guys growing up that obviously they went to the Poconos, they went camping. Camping was the big thing for their family, and they would go every July 4th weekend. And then, as I said, being in the Army, I met people from all over the place. And to hear the regional stuff, like if you grew up in the South, some guy was telling me, they would, have a big family reunion on July 4th and stuff like that. So that's my question, though. Is it a regional thing? Because obviously somebody from South Dakota is not jonesing to go to Wildwood on July 4th. I don't think that's the case, but I just want interesting if what your go-to for July 4th weekend is. And Michael Papernick, as mine, was the beach. My July 4th is barbecue and horseshoe. So there you go. See, Joe Hale. So a barbecue and a horseshoe tournament. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. And is that something that, Joe, you've done throughout your life on a yearly basis? Is this an annual thing that you host or you go to? Is it your default? Like every year, no matter what, when you buy your new calendar around Christmas and you're flipping through it and you're looking at July 4th, making sure that it's on a Sunday, and there's the horseshoe and barbecue. Is that something that's programmed into your year? It's kind of what I'm saying. So, but let's take a break. Let's pause for the cause for a second, because we got to get into the show. We got to get things started as we do every night on the program with your day in Philadelphia sports history. So let's strap in, strap on, strap up. Make sure you keep your heads, hands, and feet inside the car at all times. And let's roll with our day in Philadelphia sports history, a day that I remember like it was yesterday. That's right. July 3rd, 1993. Now, this was a part 2 event, because this actual moment began on the night of July 2nd, 1993. And it was the infamous 4:41 in the morning game against the San Diego Padres. Was it the Padres? Yeah, it was. I always thought it was the Dodgers, but it's the Padres. The Padres. The game in which Mitch Williams had the game-winning hit at 4:41 a.m. To give the Phillies a 6-5 win over the Padres. A game that started. So basically, let's read you the first game. The game that began on the 2nd. So it was an opener. It was a doubleheader on the 2nd. The Phillies won 5-2 in an 8.5-hour game played by nearly 6 hours of rain delays, including at 1:01. Surely they called for a second game, right? So the first game, they labored through the first game that finished up at 1 o'clock in the morning. And they got the second one rolling that finished up close to 5. Now, I was not there. I think Mike Lauro was there. I think he said he went to that game and got trapped in that. I'm interested to know, was the sun starting to come up at that time in the morning? I don't think it is, but definitely as part of what that magical 93 season was. Everything that went into that 93 season. This game was part of the magical fabric of the 93 season. 8-hour game in game one, or 8 hours total, I'm sorry, between two games. 6 rain delays sprinkled in there. And it finally ended up at 4:41 a.m. And Mitch Williams with the game-winning hit, a walk-off for Mitch Williams, as the Phillies won 6-5 in game 2 of a doubleheader that began sometime in the early afternoon or mid-afternoon of July 2nd and ended at 4 o'clock or close to 5 a.m. on the morning of July the 3rd. So there you are, the marathon game at the Vet, Phillies and Padres in 1993. There's your day in Philadelphia history, sports history. Mike says, I'm not Jonesy for anything. I will grill some food for me and my wife. That's it. See, and again, that's something, right? That's your thing. Now, my July 4th tomorrow will be kind of low key as well. We just got back from Toronto. We were there yesterday and drove back in this morning. Had a great game. Great Yankees Blue Jays game. Yankees lost, which is good. They lost 11-9. A lot of offense in this game. And Aaron Judge, is funny because we had great seats. My stepson picked out these seats, and we were sitting right next to the Yankee bullpen. And Aaron Judge was literally, you could see him clear as day. And we were down in the 100 level of the upper. I don't know if you've ever been to Rogers Center. It's an amazing place. It really is. But, they have 100, the 100, 200, and 300 levels all the way around the stadium. We were down in the 100, but out in the outfield, out in left field, left center field, actually. And Aaron Judge was warming up right literally in front of us the entire game. And every single half inning, I would stand up right at the end of warm-ups and be like, and it seemed like, because and I kept score. He threw a ball up into our section every half inning at the end of warm-ups. I've never seen Aaron Judge in person before. That dude is like 6'9", man. That's a big guy, dude. I mean, that dude is huge. And I'm telling you, every half inning he was throwing a baseball up into our section, but not quite close to where I was. Like sort of like a couple seats over, a row back. I like to believe at least he saw me. We made eye contact, and he was throwing me baseballs all game. I just couldn't secure him. There was a young girl sitting behind us who she had snagged 2 of these balls. There was a kid sitting about 4 seats over from us who snagged 4 of these damn things throughout the night. And my poor stepson did not get any, nor did I. But yeah, it was fun. I really thought we were going to end up with a game ball at some point, but we did not. But we had a great night. Food is terrible at Rogers Center. And for all you Canadians out there, and I mean no disrespect if you're Canadian or if you have some love for Canada, but you can take that country and keep it. I don't know. It just was weird. It was weird up there trying to convert, what was it? KMs into, or miles per hour into KMs and gallons into liters. I don't have all time for that nonsense. And the way the country's laid out, and traffic in Toronto is terrible, with a capital terrible. Good God, I damn near had a meltdown on the way in yesterday afternoon. It took me literally, and listen, I'm familiar with city traffic. I've driven through Manhattan in the middle of the day. I've driven, obviously, through Philadelphia millions of times. It took me literally 53 minutes to drive 6 miles. 6 miles in 53 minutes. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. And some of the worst drivers that I've ever seen, just cutting in and out. I mean, there was an etiquette to it. I get it. And you got to be on your game. And I understand that. But there was just some straight up ignorant stuff going on the roadways in Toronto yesterday. So you can keep Toronto, keep Canada, shove it up your ass for all I care. I've been there, done it. I enjoyed myself. Rogers Center was a great place. But it's just like any other major city. It's like 24 million people living in that, like a 43 block radius place. A lot of people, but we had a great time. But you can keep Canada. What's funny is in my 56 years on Earth, I have never gone to an Irish weekend in September in Wildwood. What's the Irish weekend? Is that what they call Labor Day? Is that Labor Day weekend? Again, if that's what you're referring to, I only went once. So when I was growing up as a kid, my dad was a cop for 30 years. And we used to go away on the FOP conventions every year. And one year, they would have like a state convention one year, so it would be somewhere in Pennsylvania. Then the next year, it would be a national convention anywhere in the country. So it would kind of flip-flop around that. There'd be years that we had a state convention. And it was like odd places, man. Erie, Pittsburgh, just odd places around the state of Pennsylvania we'd have to go on these vacations. But on those years where it was a state convention, we would follow up that, like, it was like a 5-day trip. We would follow that up with a weekend down in Wildwood. Now, these trips or these vacations always came towards the end of the summer, like early, mid-August, not quite Labor Day, but early, mid-August. And then we'd go down to Wildwood for like a weekend to cap it all off. And that seemed right. But for some odd reason, Labor Day just to me never felt right about being down the shore. It's just, I'm ready for summer to be over. And again, as a kid, I don't think it really happened to me much as a kid. Maybe as a kid, I'd have a different perspective. But to me, Labor Day is just, I'm just ready for the summer to be done with and moving on to, as I said, my favorite time of the year, which is the fall. So I just never got up for going to the shore on Labor Day weekend. Is there live on 4th of July? So this show is not on tomorrow because it's Friday. But yes, we are going to be going live with the Fightings Final and the wraparound. So our regularly scheduled programs, Ricky Deal, will be seen in its entirety tomorrow and throughout the week. I've been married 23 years, but been with my wife for 30, and our wedding anniversary is in October. My first wife and me, our anniversary was in October as well. Again, that's my favorite time of the year. When I got married last year, Nina and I were like, well, when do you want to do it? And I was like, first of all, we had you guys should see this where I live. This is finished backyard, right on the other side of that wall with an in-ground swimming pool, a lot of grounds, a lot of lawn, a lot of room for my dog to run around. Anyway, it was both our second marriages. So we're like, one, we don't have the money for it. And two, we just don't have the strength to do a big one. So we had family and friends over. And we had a very small, simple ceremony. It was locally catered by a local company that does small catering events, and just had a great time. So when we were talking about doing it, I was like, well, I wanted to do it on July 4th. I wanted to go all in with that, but she's like, no, it's a holiday, and she was like concerned that it's going to mess up people's plans. They have to stick around for our wedding. I'm like, okay, whatever. So we decided on July 3rd, but. It's almost a gimmick. If I ever get married a third time, which I'm not, but if I ever do, Christmas Day. Next time I'm doing it. Christmas Day. Yes. So there will be a live tomorrow. There will be. Every 4th of July, since I moved to upstate New York in 2008, has been different. So Michael Kaepernick's rolling a different type of schedule these days, man. He's rolling with the wind, doing something different every year. That's what I'm talking about. My dad was there. The bars were letting out, and the Phillies were basically giving out tickets. Yeah. Joe Hale, it was again, I did not attend. I was 21. And as I said, I think if Mike's listening, I think Mike Lauro was there. It was either he was at that one or the one against the Dodgers. There was another one that ran late against the Dodgers. I don't know if that was in 93, but I do remember the one in 93. But I'll never forget. So I remember waking up the next morning and not realizing that the game had ended like 4 hours ago. It was weird. Irish weekend is not Labor Day. It's the weekend is St. Patty's celebration. Oh, wow. Jeez Louise. 3 days. Woo. It is the week after Labor Day. It's a car show that all the bar drinks are half price. Well, is that their like swan song moving on to, the different time of the year? When are you down in Wildwood? As I said, I have not been there. I like to go at least once a summer, and typically on July 4th weekend, but we haven't made it there since 2023. We went 2023 a Labor Day weekend. That was the last time I was in Wildwood. Labor Day weekend of 2023 was the last time I was there. My stepdaughter's going in about 10 days with friends She's going to be down there for about a week, but I don't think I'll be going this year. Yeah, I just don't have time, but I would love to. But typically, Ricky, it's this weekend, July 4th, but not this year. All right, so I guess let's kind of turn the page. We talked our day in Philadelphia sports history, the epic 4:41 a.m. venue doubleheader with the Padres, Mitch Williams with a walk-off. I guess the Phillies are an applicable topic to bring up. Again, feeling pretty good about themselves. 19 series wins now for the season as we are in transition between me. And I really do hate nights off. I hate Nova Phillies baseball. Watching minor league ball all night between Reading and Lehigh Valley because they were in a rain delay. And then I was watching some Clearwater. So, kind of bouncing around the app there. But 19 series wins. 1-1 for the month of July, as they had. Then we played the doubleheader yesterday, and going in against the series against the Reds. Now, if you look at the next week on the Phillies calendar, which is, I think, is a very interesting time. You got the All-Star break coming next Monday, not this Monday, but the following Monday. You got 3 with the Reds. You got 3 in San Francisco, and then 3 in San Diego. So they're going to finish out their unofficial first half on the West Coast, playing in venues in San Francisco that they don't play well at. And then up until recently, they started kind of turning the trend around in San Diego over the last 2 years. They typically haven't played well in San Diego either. So how important is it for you, them heading out on the West Coast, to come out and really put it to the Reds this weekend? I think it's very important. I think the Phillies, as they ride this wave of inconsistency throughout the first half of this season and into the All-Star break, I think it's very important that they capture the wins where they can get them. And I think these 3 games over this weekend against the Reds at home, July 4th weekend, why not, man? Let's have some fun. Let's have a party. Are very important for the Phillies to come out with at least a series win, if hopefully a sweep, because you don't want to go into the All-Star break on a down note. And if they end up going out and losing 2 out of 3 in San Francisco, or getting swept in San Francisco and then losing 2 and 3 or 2 out of 3 in San Diego, then you go into a 5-day off period until they don't have baseball again until next Friday or the Friday after that. So I think it's very important for this team over the course of the next 3 days. And I think the Reds are not going to be a pushover. I think it's going to be a really good series. Once again, it's going to be interesting to see how the pitching kind of responds. But taking 2 out of 3 or sweeping the Reds, I think, is very important for this team and their own psychological condition heading out on the West Coast to wrap up the unofficial first half of the season. And yesterday, in the doubleheader between the Padres, game 1, 9 walks by the Phillies staff. Again, not enough sustained offense. You had Brandon Marsh that thankfully, listen, I'm not going to pretend to know to know what happens behind the closed doors in that clubhouse. And I don't know how Rob Thompson deals with his players. And obviously we can make our own assessments based on what Rob Thompson's personality is like, but we honestly don't know. We don't know what kind of relationship Rob has with those players. And we don't know what kind of consequences are given to these players. I know it's not losing playing time. I know that's not the consequence, but I don't know if there's other consequences that are dwelled out to these players. But Brandon Marsh's decision to try to go from first to third in the bottom of the 9th inning, down by 2 runs, was one of the most stupidest, lack of discipline, boneheaded moves from a Major League Baseball player I've ever seen in a long time. Brandon Marsh literally almost snatched the game right from the Phillies. Why are you trying to go from first to third when you're down by 2? So your run is important, yes, but the run behind you, or the runner behind you, is really the most important runner. That's the tying run. And you're already in scoring position if you stop at second base. You're already in a position to where you can score on a broken bat single or whatever. You don't necessarily have to push the gauntlet when you're down by 2 runs. And I know they initially called him out, which I thought was the right call. And I don't know what I didn't get a chance to see what angle they saw in replay that overturned it. But I think everybody out there, everyone in the stadium, everyone watching, was on the same level by saying he was out. And it was the stupidest play anybody ever made. Now, thankfully, he got overturned. But That to me is more of a concern than them losing the game, was that Brandon Marsh felt so inclined. And I think Rob Thompson said at the end of the game, that decision to go to third is on the player. What the hell does that mean? What the hell are you talking about? It's on the player. No, it's not. It's on the team. So you have a third base coach. It's where you're taught when you're playing baseball. Look at when you're running around, when you're coming into second, you look up and you look at the third base coach. They'll tell you what to do, right? It means it's on the player. What the hell does that mean? Stupid. And I don't know if that was a get out of my face, I don't want to answer this question type of answer, or if he really meant that. If he really meant that, then we really got problems. But the fact that Brandon Marsh felt so inclined to not even think about it, just go right to third, tells me a little bit, sheds a lot of light on what we think. And then this is not the only example of undisciplined play we've witnessed over the years with Rob Thompson, but it does concern me. It concerns me that players feel that they can do types of stuff like this on this team, and literally with no repercussions. And a baseball 101 play was almost screwed up to a point where, and again, thankfully, and I'd love to see the angle that they saw that overturned that. I thought he was dead to hell out. I thought they gunned him out easily on third base. But it got overturned. And then Kyle Schwarber, what do you strike out or something, end the game? So it didn't really end up mattering. But still, you're the fifth run. You're in scoring position already at second. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing it? But the Phillies ended up losing yesterday in game 1, 6-4. And the big story out of the game was not Brandon Marsh, but it was more of the Mick Abel stuff. And I want to get into some Mick Abel stuff, man. Ricky's asking me if the phone lines are open tonight. They are. They will be, yes. Can we party tomorrow on the 4th of July? Sure, Ricky. Where are you going to be, man? March the 3rd was a bonehead of play. It was Reds are 3 games over 500, plus they are 6-4 in their last 10 games. They are no pushover. I agree, Dave. I 100% agree. The Reds aren't a pushover. Number 1 of the replay angle showed Machado missing the tag. So it was more of a missed tag. I didn't see that part. I was actually driving at the time. I was driving into Canada. I didn't actually see background conversations in the car. So I didn't see. So he was out, but Machado just missed the tag. Okay. I mean, I buy that, but still. So it was a boneheaded play. Yesterday's Game 1, Venom is going to come solely down on Mick Abel, who's now had 2 not really good starts, right? Let's face it, he hasn't had 2. I remember what was his last scheduled start that he got. So he had to start against the Mets that he didn't do well. Then he had the game in Atlanta last Friday where he was supposed to start, but they had the rain delay, and then they ended up going to a bullpen game. So he hasn't pitched in 11 days. I don't know if that was the right decision to make. I remember even last Friday, when they went out with the bullpen with Tanner Banks, I believe, started the game in the 13-0 win. I think that was Tanner Banks, wasn't it? Who ended up getting the start in that game? I remember thinking to myself, was that really the smart thing to do? Is not to get Mick Abel out there on the 5th day to try to get him, keep him in some sort of rhythm. And I saw a tentative Mick Abel. What I saw of him, I didn't see the stuff that I've seen from him earlier this season. He sort of had an aversion to throwing any kind of breaking stuff. Everything was up and over the plate. And I saw a very timid Mick Abel on the mound. And I don't like that. I think, listen, I honestly believe Mick Abel's going to be a starter here for a long time. I do. I think he's going to be part of the bottom end of the rotation starting this year and moving on into next season. I'm not ready to ship him out of town because of 2 bad starts or 2 not so good starts. Of course, the offense didn't support him as much either in the game yesterday. But you can't give up the walks, but he gave up 4 walks in his time. So not the greatest starts, I'll give you that. But there's people out there who probably don't know baseball from football, I guess, but or saying it's imperative that the Phillies they've screwed up because they didn't trade Mick Abel when his trade value was high. First of all, that's one of the most ridiculous statements I've ever heard. Mick Abel's trade value is still high because he's a young pitcher. He's a young pitcher at the beginning of his career. So his trade value is still very high. So that's an ignorant statement to make right off the bat. Number 2, to give up on Mick Abel and to think that, just because of 2 starts, let's ship him out of here and let's trade high, to me is ridiculous too, because one, we talked about this in nauseum, the changes that this team has to make are not going to happen in season. There's just no way they can fill all the holes. And if you're asking me, I'm more inclined to let us roll with as much deep and as many arms that we can possibly throw at teams in the postseason coming out of the bullpen than we can. If I have Mick Abel coming out of the bullpen, Ranger Suarez coming out of the bullpen, and if, Andrew Painter coming out of the bullpen at some point, maybe in October, I'm okay with that, because I think we're going to need the damn pitching. I think we're going to need a lot of it to try to offset some of the problems with this offense. So I am not ready to ship out any of my starting pitchers, with maybe the exception of Ranger because he's a free agent next year. But other than that, I'm not really inclined to ship out any of our starting pitchers, especially a kid who's literally tasting, or smelling the first breaths of MLB air of his career. I'm willing to be a little bit more patient with that. And he's shown us that he has the stuff. He's shown us over the first 3 starts that he can hang at this level. Now he's got to learn how to make the adjustments. Now he's got to learn how to not be timid and continue throwing what's gotten him here. So, it wasn't a good start. But it was, he wasn't terrible. It wasn't 9 runs in 2 innings. The offense didn't really do him any favors either, once again, right? But to all you out there who are ready to ship Mick Abel out of here because of 2 bad starts, come on, man. Should I say Gavin Floyd? Does that name ring a bell? Carlos Carrasco, does that name ring a bell? Dave friggin' Stewart, does that name ring a bell? I'm throwing out some of the names of the pitchers that we gave up on in the past that have come back. Hell, Nick Pivetta, does that ring a bell? I mean, he pretty much carved out a pretty decent career for himself. So let Mick Abel be Mick Abel. Let him figure it out. He's in a rotation to where you actually have the ability to allow Mick Abel to figure himself out because he's got so much depth around him at pitching. So stop with the trade Mick Abel stuff. Stop with that nonsense. I hope Dombrowski doesn't trade him because I'm not so clear on what the rotation is going to look like in 2026. What is Aaron Nola's future with this team based on this injury, right? So we may need Mick Abel sooner than later. We may need Andrew Painter as well next year. We will, but we absolutely might need Mick Abel at some point very soon. So let's not do something stupid out there and trade Mick Abel. Oh man. Thoughts on the Nicky C trade? I saw that, man. I saw that. Well, listen, it makes sense, right? I mean, would anybody really shed a tear if Nick Castellanos got traded? It's one of those signings that didn't quite live up to the hype, right? Which is a common thing. I mean, it makes sense. You could probably flip Castellanos for 2 or 3 players. You could probably flip him for that. But again, and he's under control for next season. So that makes it an attractive offer for some teams because they got him next year. So I would absolutely 100% be on board with that. 100%. I mean, offensively speaking, though, would you have to trade him for another bat? Would there be a player involved in that, a fielder? Because you're removing a bat, and what are you replacing him with? Would you be replacing him with a full-time Otto Kemp playing left field or playing right field? I mean, what would you be doing there? So I would be okay with that, but I'm going to need an offensive player in return, right? I mean, if I'm going to flip him for 2 pitchers, that doesn't make any sense because that makes our offense even worse than it is right now. So I'm okay with it. That gives us some salary cap relief for next season. It gets rid of a player that, let's face it, does Nick Castellanos have much longer than 2026 with this team? Is anybody on the let's re-sign Nick Castellanos train? So no, I'm 100% in favor of that. I hope that's a true thing. And I hope Dombrowski can get creative. Maybe it's a part of a package deal that involves other players, but I'd like to see a bat in return as well. And I think Nick Castellanos deep down would be happy to be traded. I think Castellanos has run out of patience for Philadelphia. I think he has. It's kind of a fun gimmick for a lot of players in the beginning. Oh, they're critical. They're on me all the time. It's great. It makes me a better player. But when it's constant and it doesn't stop for years, I think after a while you get like, you know what, get me the hell out of here. I just don't want to do this anymore. So I wouldn't shed any tears if Nick Castellanos got traded. Banks got to start last Friday. Yeah, I thought it was. What are we doing on 4th of July tomorrow? Ricky, I don't know what you're doing for 4th of July. I am relaxing myself, man. I got just got home today, you know. I think we're going to do something quiet here at the house. A little barbecue, a little swimming, I think. I think that's what we're going to do. And baseball. Barbecue, swimming, and baseball. That's what we're going to do. Ricky Deal, they are doing it the normal live. Oh, so you weren't asking what I was personally doing. Well, you were asking what the network's doing. Yeah, we're doing whatever we do normally on a Friday. Fight's final and the wraparound will be seen in its entirety tomorrow. I think Mick will be fine. He is young, and we'll have ups and downs. I think sometimes with young players, the game can be overwhelming sometimes, especially when you have a couple bad starts. And as I said, you know, yesterday what I saw of him in game one, he was really hesitant to throw any kind of off-speed stuff. Everything was up. Everything was flat. You know, it was like he was trying to blow batters away. You got to rely on your own. You got to be confident in all your stuff, right, Michael Patrick? I agree. I mean, I'm not ready to ship him out of here because he had a couple bad starts, and I still believe his trade value is high. I still think there's probably a billion teams that would take him because he's a young player and it's just starting his career out. And again, names like Gavin Floyd, Carlos Carrasco, Dave Stewart, they haunt my dreams. You know, they really do. Maybe to a lesser effect, Nick Pivetta. But those names haunt my dreams of what we could have had if we just would have been a little bit more patient with them. So, yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Oh, Barbara, how are you? My feeling is that Bryce Harper is injured. He shouldn't be playing, so there's no excuse. That's out of left field there, Barbara. Barbara bringing in the Bryce Harper hate right off the bat. If he's hurt, yeah. I don't know why he's playing either. And again, I brought this up the other night. Why was he not given a rehab assignment somewhere? A couple games somewhere, right? I mean, they did that when he broke his hand or was finger a couple of years ago out there in San Diego. Remember he got that like 3-game stint down in Lehigh? I remember because I went to a game. I went to a Pigs game that he was playing in. And they couldn't handle the crowds up there at old Coca-Cola Stadium because people were swarming to the ballpark to catch a glimpse of Bryce Harper. But no such rehab assignment this time around. So I think that's very interesting. And Barbara's right. I mean, if he's hurt, why is he playing? Nola's not playing. Now, question is Nola hurt or they lost patience for Nola? But I agree with you. There's been a lot of talk. About these expectations, right? And what Bryce Harper has done or has not done since he's been here, and the free pass that he's been on since he's been here. And honestly, I mean, let's kind of break it down. They were doing a thing about I think it was yesterday that I heard in the broad. I was listening half and half, and they were mentioning the Bedlam at the Bank home run in the NLCS against the Padres. And being one of Bryce Harper's most epic home runs as a Philly. And then that got me thinking, what the hell were the others? What the hell were the other epic home runs in Bryce Harper's tenure as a Philly? And the only other one I could think of was the Grand Slam walk-off against the Cubs. That was it. Two epic home runs in 7 years. That is all I can remember from Bryce Harper here. And I racked my brain. It was a mental gymnastic for me to be driving down the road trying to figure out what were the other epic home runs other than Bedlam at the Bank. What were the other epic home runs in Bryce Harper's tenure as a Philly? And the only other one I could think of was the walk-off against the Cubs, the Grand Slam. That was it. Was it a grand slam? It was the walk-off against the Cubs. For some odd reason, I thought it was a grand slam, but maybe it wasn't. But it was a walk-off against the Cubs. But that's the only two epic home runs that I can remember Bryce Harper hitting. So the expectations, we're talking about Nick Castellanos kind of not meeting the expectations. Well, what the hell, Bryce Harper's expectations? Has he met those expectations? I really don't understand that, man. And again, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting if he does not break out of this funk he's in, heading into the 2026 offseason. Does that free pass that we've given Bryce Harper since he's been here, does it end? And does the rightful criticism start getting flung in his direction? Matty, the Toronto Blue Jays, yes, they are. And I was there when they caught they ran down the Yankees last night. I was in attendance to watch that happen. 11-9. They beat the Yankees last night. We're out to a 7-0 first inning lead. Yankees battled their way back to make it 7-7, and then then it was like, oh no, it was like 9-something, and then the Yankees tied it at 9, and the Blue Jays went ahead 11-9 in the 8th and held on to win. Hoffman pitched. He closed last night. I had a chance to watch him close, and I was talking to some of the people in the stands out there, and I was asking them what they thought about old Jeff Hoffman, and they're like, not really, hasn't met the expectations that we thought we were getting, and it's been a rough season for him. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of what as a Phillies fan looking from the outside into the situation with him going up to Toronto, because there's been a lot of talk lately. I was kind of filling them in on what's happening on this side about the problems with the bullpen and giving up on players like Hoffman and Estevez last year. And there's a few Phillies fans out there, screaming for Jeff Hoffman back and what have you. So I was just kind of getting inside of how the Toronto Blue Jays faithful were embracing Hoffman. And it's funny because Hoffman is their closer. There's no committee there. He is the closer. He's got his own walk-up, not music, video. There's a video they show of him as he's coming up out of the bullpen to take his spot on the mound. So he's got his own walk-up video with music, of course. But he is the closer for the Blue Jays, and it has not been a seamless transition for him. But last night it was, as he mowed down the Yankees in order in the top of the 9th inning to give the Blue Jays the win. So nice to see Jeff Hoffman. Forgot all about it when I was sitting out there and they were getting ready to go with the closer. I'm like, who's their closer? I'm like, oh my God, it's Hoffman. What the hell? I didn't see Dombrowski making any big trade moves. I don't see Dombrowski making any big trade moves. I think we all see in a trade for a relief pitcher or two and possibly an outfielder, just nothing special. I think, guy. I mean, what's Al say? You got to play to play or play to pay and whatever. But I'm not willing to. We have a lot of holes to fill on this team. There's a lot of them. And I don't want to pay. I don't want to give up on the franchise. I don't want to give up on the prospects or the future of this organization by bringing in a bunch of rental players. And I sure as hell don't want to see any sort of trade package involving Aiden Miller for Cedric Mullins. All right. I don't want to see any of that. All right. I don't want to give up on an Aiden Miller or a Justin Crawford or a Mick Abel for a rental player for 2 months. And for one guy that's not going to come in here and win us over. It's not going to matter whether we're not going to win a World Series if Cedric Mullins comes here. It's just not going to happen. He's just not that good. And again, all the clamoring for him is redunculous. Now, Kyle Finnegan, as I mentioned, I would be okay with bringing him on. But I wonder what Washington would want for him. But wholesale trade changes, as you mentioned, you would like to see a relief arm or two and an outfielder. That's 3 players. That's sort of what he averages a year, right? It's usually 2 relievers and an outfielder, right? Is that what it's been over the last couple seasons, with the exception of the Noah Syndergaard year? It's been sort of that type of MO for him. He brings in about 2 relievers and a position player, and it'll be like that again this year. And what does it say about the Phillies? And what does it say about Dombrowski that it's the same type of trade every year? The same type of trade every offseason or every season, every trade deadline. It's always 2 relievers and a outfielder. What does this say that about the Phillies organization that they are constantly trading for the same type of player or same type of positions? Does that speak highly or critically of Dave Dombrowski's ability to build a roster when we're constantly having to make the same type of trades every trade deadline for the same type of player? It'd be nice for them to have to trade for a catcher, or it'd be nice for them to have to trade for a first baseman. But no, it's always a reliever or two and an outfielder every year. And it's rental players every year in that aspect. And every year we give up bigger pieces of our farm system in the process. And I don't want him to start feeling like Froggy, so to speak, and leaping and making stupid ass trades with our future for a Cedric Mullins type of player. So you're right. They're going to do something there, Michael Papernick. I agree with you, but I'm not really certain what that would be. And I really don't want them to give up on the farm system. Go Phillies. Absolutely, Ricky Deal. I'm going to try to come on this weekend. What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm going to try to come on. What are you talking about? I'm the only show that lets people on, as far as I know right now. I don't know if the others are doing that, but if they are, then feel free. But is that what you mean? Come on the air? I'm the only show that allows that, as I know. I don't know if the others are doing that. They can if they want, but I don't know if they are. What's better, 6 more years of Nola or 6 more years of Harper toss-up? Oh, my God. Barbara's making us think tonight because she's right. And unfortunately, we got 6 more years of both of them because neither one of those contracts are movable at this point. Absolutely not. Neither one of those contracts are movable. Ugh. Man, Barbara got me all upset. Got me all upset. 2 most epic walk-off home runs I ever saw: Joe Carter, Ugg, and Kirk Gibson. Yeah, right. But I'm talking about Bryce Harper. They were mentioning that yesterday because of the Padres. It was, the Bedlam of the Bank home run. And that wasn't a walk-off, but it was one of Bryce Harper's epic home runs as a Philly. And it got me thinking, well, what were the others? And the only other one I could come up with was the one against the Cubs a couple years ago. And again, I thought it was a walk-off. I'm not really sure. But there was a walk-off, but I'm not really sure if it was a grand slam. I'm going to try to come on live this week. Ricky, what are you talking about? Come on live. Are you doing a show? Your own show? What are you talking about? Hoffman era is almost 5 this year. Estevez is happy in KC as he's being used as a closer and here. Yeah, well, and then Hoffman's being used as a closer in Toronto as well. So there's something to that whole role thing, isn't there, Michael Papernick? Wow. Those have been a dumpster diving on trades and free agency for a couple of years. Yeah, they most certainly have. I'm on vacation all week. Oh, you're in Wildwood. Good for you, Ricky. Good for you. As I said, that's where I would prefer to be on this weekend. And maybe, I don't know, maybe next year, if things go well, we do It's a Rap Sports live at Wildwood. I've always wanted to do that. Bring down the whole group, rent a house on the boardwalk, turn it into the real world, or turn it into the Jersey Shore. Rent a house for the week and do all the shows from that week live from Wildwood. That would be pretty fun. Maybe I'll start working on that now so that we can get it going for next year. But that would be that would be epic. It's a Rap Sports at the Shore. All the shows for 1 week. Our lineup, and our lineup should be bigger. Hopefully, be bigger by next summer. We'll be able to do shows. We'll all come down to the shore for a week and do it'd be all my shows would be live from the beach. All the Fights Finals would be live from the beach or from the shore. All the other shows that we do would be live. It'd just be a whole week of live shows from Wildwood or Ocean City, one or the other. So something I'll put that up on my to-do list. I'll get to work on that. And I mean that. I would really love to do that. I know what Ricky's trying to say. You will watch Facebook. Okay. Good stuff. Thank you for clarifying, Joe Hale. But all right, so let's get into let's move the show along. Honestly, didn't get really much into the Flyers tonight, but that's still up on the table if you guys want to discuss it. Let's talk now as Joe Hale has been sort of on this, and I've been delinquent. I haven't really done this as consistently as I did the 10 worst trades in Phillies history, but the 10 greatest trades, MattyB's 10 greatest trades in Phillies history. We've gotten through 3 of them, 10 through 7. And tonight, because I'm so far behind, I am going to do trades number 6 and number 5 on my list so as to get back on track, I guess, a little bit. I don't know if I can ever get back on track with this, but I guess kind of get it back into circulation. So without further ado, here's my 6th best trade in Philadelphia Philly history. And it's interesting because these both these trades happen at the same season, and they were in season trades. And I think it's very interesting because it happened and the Phillies were benefactors of it, not necessarily during that season, but a few seasons later. And I remember when this was happening, and I remember at this very pivotal year of Philadelphia Philly baseball of my life. And I'm going to reveal all that here in a second. But this was a summer that could go either way for the Phillies. And they decided to get a little ballsy with moving on from the old era of Phillies baseball. So it was the 1989 season. Now, you guys remember, if you're true Phillies fans out there, you'll remember the dumpster fire of 89, right? That really was wrapped around, of course, the Mike Schmidt retirement out of nowhere, where he decided to hang it up in the middle of the season. But prior to that, it wasn't working out either, right? The Phillies were terrible. And it was very obvious that they had hemmed and hawed too long trying to recapture glory with some of the post 83 players, the Juan Samuels, the Von Hayeses, the players they brought in back in the early 80s to try to offset the losses of Larry Bowa and Bob Boone and Maddox and McBride, players like that, the ones that they brought in to replace him, it just wasn't working. But year after year, all throughout the 80s, we kept on trying to make this happen. And finally in 89, it all came crashing down around everybody. And it was one of the worst Philly seasons of all time. And by this account, they were out of it by June. And then, of course, Schmidt retiring, there in late May, really just was the cherry on top of what a disastrous 89 season. But from that disaster came, in my opinion, 2 of the greatest trades in Phillies history. And the first one occurred on June the 2nd, 1989. Now, this was a trade that blew me away when I saw it happen. I actually had to do a double take, a triple take. I had to actually wrap my head around this and really try to, am I seeing this right? Did the Phillies really pull this off? But on June 18th, sorry, not June 2nd, June 18th, the Phillies sent Juan Samuel to the New York Mets for Lenny Dykstra, Roger McDowell, and Tom Edens. Now, of course, this to me was, I don't know how the Phillies pulled this off. I don't know how they were able to get Dykstra and McDowell for friggin' Juan Samuel. Now, Samuel, of course, throughout many years, the first 7 or so years that he was here, was a very serviceable player. I don't think he was ever as good as people wanted to give him credit for. I mean, he led off for, he was okay, but maybe he looked better here than he did anywhere else. Because when we went to the Mets, he was a complete disaster. He fell apart. But the fact that the Phillies were able to flip Juan Samuel for Lenny Dykstra and Roger McDowell, which of course would lead to the glory days of the 93 season, was just amazing. An absolute amazing trade. And for the first time, well, actually, the second time, because the next trade I'm going to talk about happened earlier in June of 89. But this trade, I was blown away. I was absolutely blown the hell away by this trade. And to me, it was synonymous with the fact that the Phillies were serious about separating themselves completely from the era of the 80s. And they were trying to turn over a new leaf with the fact that Mike Schmidt retired and with the fact that it is now official, the glory days of the 1980s are done. I mean, we're in the last year of the decade. Schmidt's gone. It's time to blow it up. And they did, and they came out swinging with this one. And it's so good to me that it's the 6th greatest trade in Phillies history. Juan Samuel goes to the Mets in exchange for McDowell, Dykstra, and Edens. And there you have it. My number 6 trade in Phillies history. So keeping into that vein, let's go to my number 5 trade. All right. This was a trade that occurred about 3 weeks earlier on June 2nd, 1989. Again, when they pulled off the Dykstra trade, I just, after, of course, when this trade happened, I'm about to talk about, and then a couple weeks later, the Dykstra trade, I had renewed energy to be a Phillies fan, and I was only friggin' 16 years old, and they had already beaten me down, but I had renewed energy. But on June 2nd, 1989, the Phillies sent third baseman, you guys remember this guy? Chris James. Remember Chris James? I remember Chris James. Chris James was traded to the San Diego Padres. In return for the Phillies picked up 2 players. Randy Reddy, old number 23, and a outfielder infielder that was really struggling to find his identity with the San Diego Padres, a guy by the name of John Kruk. So on June 2nd, 1989, the Phillies sent Chris James to San Diego for John Kruk and Randy Reddy. And that's my number 5 trade in Phillies history. Again, when we're talking about what this player would do when he came here, almost John LeClaire-like, honestly. Almost John LeClaire-like. Maybe not quite that, but sort of stepping out of the shadows, finding himself in Philadelphia, creating his own identity as a first baseman, and then leading the team through many, many solid years, culminating with the 93 season. This was, again, one of those trades where, with 89 being what it was symbolically for this franchise, to pull off a trade to bring in John Kruk for Chris James, and then also Randy Reddy, who provided some spark as a utility guy for a few seasons there, was really a good throw-in player there for Chris friggin' James, man. Old number 12. No, that was Glenn Wilson. Glenn Wilson was 12, and so was James. Anyway. And then turning it around a couple weeks later and pulling off the Dykstra trade. To me, those were 2 of the most prolific trades in Phillies history, and happening at the same month in the same season of 1989 really laid down the foundations for the Phillies moving forward, getting away from the Mike Schmidt era, getting away from their old identity with Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton, those glory days, but say kind of just moving away from them and creating their new identity heading into the 90s. Those were some really, really important trades for this franchise, and so important that I've put them 6 and 5 on my list of all-time greatest Phillies trades. Number 6, Juan Samuel for Len Dykstra, Roger McDowell, and Tom Edens. And number 5, Chris James goes to San Diego in return for Randy Reddy and John Kruk. There you are, Joe Hale. I'm back on track, and now we're top 4 to the end. Hope you like that, folks. Hope you liked it. Okay, where we at here? Carlos Estevez 2-2 with 23 saves. Yep, he's fitting nicely for the Royals. And Jeff Hoffman 6-2. 4.71 ERA is a little elevated for a closer. You don't want that. That's what they were telling me. It's been interesting. It hasn't been seamless. It's had its moments, ups and downs with Jeff Hoffman out in Toronto. Trade for Dykstra was one of probably the more prolific ones in the franchise's history when you look at it holistically, Barbara. And you look at both those trades from that summer. And I believe, wasn't later in the summer? No, that was in 90. A year later in 90, they picked up Dale Murphy from the Braves. I know Murphy was at the very end of his career, but still. One of the players that I was pissed off that didn't go on the 93 ride was Dale Murphy. I thought Dale Murphy could have really played a role in that 93 team. They cut him in spring training, but I really thought Dale Murphy could have had one more. If Jim Eisenreich and friggin' Pete Incaviglia and all those guys had career years, I thought Dale Murphy could have had one more magical season. And who knows, man? Who knows? If we kept Dale Murphy in that 93 team, who knows? Maybe we do win that World Series. I don't know. But that was the one thing and I think we picked up Murphy in 90, but still, the Dykstra trade was franchise changing, and so was the Kruk trade. Those were 2 of the most important trades in the history of this organization, and they occurred in the same month during the same baseball season. Wait, did you read my post before you said Dykstra trade? Yes. I literally, so I didn't know. I was probably talking about it as you were typing it. Look at that, Barbara. We're on the same page. The Phillies relievers as a whole only have total of 26 saves as a team. Well, we all know it doesn't work and hasn't worked, but the definition of crazy is topper. Yeah, I mean, we've established that. Rick Schuer didn't last long. He was number 15. I remember him. My favorite player in '93 was Terry Mulholland, Tyler Green, Tommy Green, Larry Anderson. Yeah, very colorful group. That's that whole team. Randy Ray, yeah, he was very good. Now, he wasn't around in '93. I think they moved on from after that, but he was a good utility player. Listen, the Phillies teams of '90, '91, and '92 had their moments, man. They did. Matter of fact, in '92, I thought they had a really good team. They just had massive amounts of injuries that put a lot of people out. And I remember, and I'll never forget this, I was at a bookstore up in the Roosevelt Mall in like February of '93. And I remember the first preview of the '93 season in Baseball Illustrated. I don't know what magazine it was, but it had the first '93 previews. And I remember reading the teams, and they had projected the Phillies finishing in last. But I remember reading what the guy wrote about it. He said, listen, if the Phillies can stay healthy, they could challenge for the NL East because they're that good. In '92, they just were beset by injury. And when I read that, it always stuck with me throughout the rest of course, what happened in '93. So they were assembling something, and it started with that Kruk trade, and then the Dykstra trade, and then as we moved forward into that, into the '90s, they were building something. But yeah, I wish the Phillies had Jim Fregosi. I wish they had a Fregosi, Dallas Green. You know what? Honestly, I think they should have had a Larry Boa. I wish Larry Boa was their manager. I really do. Matt, are you on live tomorrow? I am not. Tomorrow is Al on the Fightings Final and Pat on his show. '93 really didn't build anything. It was on it. But Barbara, I just established that Kruk and Dykstra were acquired in '89, right? Kruk and Dykstra were acquired in '89. So they were built, we were building towards, we got Mitch Williams in what, 90, 91, right? So these guys were here a few years already. We were building towards something, and that was '93. Now that was it. It all came tumbling down after that, but we were building something towards, which ended up being '93. Now, you got to give them that. It wasn't like we acquired all these players in the offseason of '92 and '93. No, some of these guys showed up, as I mentioned, with Kruk and Dykstra in '89. And then some players showed up, obviously, after that. So, yes, they were building towards something. Now, was it specifically 1993? No, it just happened to all kind of come together. And then the Eisenreich and Cavilla having career years, Darren Dalton having a good year. That sort of, boom, did happen. So, but there you go. I hope you like that. All right, let's go on to the of the night segment. All right, we've been doing this all week, and I want to continue to do it as we move through the rest of or move through tonight with the MLB All-Star break coming up in the next week. And by the way, you guys remember that we are hosting the All-Star game next year, Philadelphia, in recognition of the 250th birthday of our nation. Oh, and by the way, listen, a shout out. Listen, I'm gonna give a shout out here, and I don't normally do this, but being in Canada and being at the game, of course, I was ready for the backlash when it came to the national anthems, right? So they played the American national anthem first because the Yankees are the road team. Everybody stood. Everybody removed their hats, and the police officers that were in a semblance for the game saluted the American national anthem. And I was very impressed by that. Very, very impressed. Then, of course, when they got to Canada, they say salute. The cops were still saluting, and then everybody sang. Everyone sings their song up there, and that's actually it's a cool song to sing. Ours is too long, honestly, for everyone to sit there and start singing it. But they were singing it. But I did not see any disrespect towards the American national anthem. I didn't see any of that. I want to give a shout out to the Canadian people for that, because I was anticipating an international incident with me in the stands. I was, but it didn't happen. And there was a lot of respect shown towards the American national anthem that I saw. And obviously with all the political back and forth going on. And I felt that at the gas pump. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. If you ever happen to cruise on into Canada, make sure you bring your checkbook, especially if you got to put gas in your car. So I spent $30 US for 6 gallons of gasoline. 6 gallons of gas. What? I don't know if that's tariff. I don't know what the hell's going on, but boy, ooh, how are they driving cars in Canada? I mean, and it's by the leaders out there, of course. And of course, I'm looking at this. I had my wife help me turn the damn pump on. I don't know what I'm seeing. What's a liter? How does that convert into gallons? How much should we get? I'm gonna calculate. It's too much friggin' work. And then you're driving down the street and it says 60 kms. All right, what the hell what is that in miles per hour? Right. But then I figured out you just take 60 and you minus 40, and then that's the miles per hour. So I saw at one point a sign that said 100. I'm like, whoa, do 100 miles an hour? And there's no 100 kms. So that's like 60 miles an hour. So it's too confusing for me in Canada. And honestly, for those of you that are thinking about taking a ride up to Canada, I would reconsider that. You better bring your checkbook, man, because gas is a little on the expensive side. But I wanted to point that out. Kudos to the Canadian people for respecting the American national anthem. And I respected both, of course. Now, I say this because when I saw the police saluting the American national anthem, I thought that was really interesting, because as a soldier, as a former U.S. soldier, we would always salute, of course, our national anthem. But when we would be in events where another country's national anthem would be played, we don't salute. We don't salute any other flag. That's something we don't do. We'll stand in a position of attention and give respect, but we will never salute another country's flag. And that's okay by me. But to see the way the Canadian police handled that was amazing. So I just wanted to give a quick shout. All right, let's get into our of the night segment. We're following who I think the Phillies should be looking at 26 overall in next week's draft. We've talked about a few players already. Let's review very quickly. My number one selection at 26, if available for the Phillies, would be the stud catcher from the University of North Carolina, Luke Stevenson, who's the best catcher in the draft. Let's face it, in the draft. And there's a very good chance he could find his way to fall at 26. And if there's a position in this franchise that's goddamn depleted more than catcher, then I'm not paying attention because I don't know. But I would definitely be if I was Dombrowski, or if I was Preston Mattingly, and if I'm sitting at 26 and Luke Stevenson falls to me, I'm definitely taking him. But if that's not a possibility, then a good second option for me is the 6'8", 17-year-old Kurt Schoolcraft, the senior out of Sunset High School in Oregon, kind of in the same pipeline there as the Jesuit High School program in Oregon that produced Mick Abel and a few other MLB pitchers. Schoolcraft is throwing close to 100 miles an hour at 17. Yes, he is a little bit of a project. It doesn't really seem to have faith or confidence in any of his breaking stuff, and his fastball is pretty flat. It's got really no movement to it, but they can teach him that. So definitely a good option at number 2. And if he's not available, then I pivot to the outfield / first baseman, Ethan Conrad of Wake Forest, who's not necessarily a power hitter, but he's going to get on base and he hits for a lot of balls in the gaps. He's a doubles machine, and he's fast on the base pass. He's a contact hitter. God knows we could use a lot of them. So far so good. These are what I would so far, if I had my choice in order, this is who I would get. So continuing on with profiling some players, and we're going to do this right up to the draft. The next player, if available, would be Sean Gamble. the shortstop / outfielder from ING Academy in Florida. Gamble's a left-handed hitter who has a smooth and repeatable swing with a knack for finding the barrel, controlling the zone, and doing damage to all fields, and he's gaining strength. He's showing more raw power and should continue to leverage the ball and get to more extra base authority as he moves along. He had quality at-bats all summer to raise his profile. Again, this is last season. Now, I've done some initial research on Sean Gamble, and I don't know if he's going to be there at 26 because he's got a high draft ceiling currently right now. And of course, we always go towards that like comp player, and a lot of comps. I don't know if you're going to take this the right way. There's a lot of Sean Gamble, Bryson Stott comps, and what I mean by that is his defense is at the Bryson Stott level right now. Now, of course, I gravitate towards the offense. I don't need another slow bat speed of Bryson Stott. I don't need anybody that's got a problem, because Bryson Stott seems to, maybe when he first got here, seemed to like kind of hint around trying to use all fields, but he stopped that years ago. So I don't know how you look at that, but Sean Gamble is got a Bryson Stott comp to him. Hopefully they're meaning more defensive than anything else, but if available at 26, a shortstop / outfielder. I like that, the fact that we can potentially use him in the outfield too. But it's never too soon to start looking at what's going to happen there at shortstop with a lot of uncertainty, of course, with the veteran Trey Turner. And then after Trey Turner, you're looking at maybe converting Aiden Miller. But, got to keep the pipeline moving. And I would definitely look at Sean Gamble if my other three options weren't there at 26. So there you go. There's our other night segment profiling Sean Gamble of the IMG Academy of Florida as potential draft target for the Phillies at 26 overall. So let's there's the thing there. Ricky asked me, okay, why am I not seeing it? Ricky, it's there. I promise you now, I'm not seeing any of the messages. Here we go. Is the lineup on? Yes, Ricky, for the 1 millionth time, we will be here tomorrow. Fighting's final at around 4 o'clock. Big Al will have you on the call, and Pat will be back at 10:30 for the wraparound. And then tomorrow or Saturday will be the final. Sunday is everything that's normally programmed will be on at its normal time this weekend. I felt bad for Mitch the way Kurt Schilling treated him, with putting the towel over his head and not watching. I know, man. I remember that. And as I'm sitting in Rogers Center, Michael Papernick, of course, I don't know if you guys would know this about me, but I was a little obnoxious in the stands, and I had a few in me as well. So I was pouring on, and my stepson's a Yankees fan. So he was kind of jawing back and forth with some Blue Jay fans, and I would intervene on his behalf and say, it doesn't matter. They both suck. All right, let's go Phillies. And the minute I say the word Phillies, what's the one thing a Toronto Blue Jay fan is going to throw up in my face? Yeah, touch them all, Joe. And then it dawned on me at that particular moment in time, I'm sitting in the same venue that happened. And I was like ultimately humbled to the point of silence. So to go to the scene of the crime of 93, I guess maybe I exercised that demon. But Rogers Center is a pretty cool spot. It's a really interesting stadium to go to. The roof was open to start, and they closed it around the 7th inning. Really cool place, man. Terrible food, but a really cool place. But yes, I do remember, the Kurt Schilling towel over his head stuff. But that made the 93 season that much special. I meant after 93, they reverted back to last, but yes. Yes, they did. I noticed the MLB draft is on at 5. It is. Was it next Sunday? Thompson thinks every Philly starter pitcher but Nola and Abel should be on the All-Star team. Oh, well, and by that account, they've announced the starters and no Phillies. Nobody made it as a starter. Trey Turner, Zach Wheeler's going to make it. And I think Trey Turner, at the end of the day, it's going to be Turner, Wheeler, and Schwarber. I think they're the 3 representatives, but far cry short of the 8 we sent last year to this All-Star team. And how you guys feeling about that? The All-Star starters have been announced for both the National and the American League. No Phillies made the starting cut for the NL. Is there something to that? Brian Swope, what's up, brother? How are you tonight? Phillies need to bring focus on guys who work counts, seeing lots of pitches, high on base guys who are hitters first with homer ability over sluggers. Ryan, you're right. The problem is, and I mentioned this the other day, is that even a thing anymore in baseball? Are there those players out there? I think you mentioned in detail Bobby Abreu. Does that player even exist anymore? And I went into a recitation about how it's starting to sort of swing back into coaches actually teaching the art of hitting now, but it's going to take a while to repair the damage that's been done. I'm talking a generation. But you're right, 100%. Ryan says, Carlson, no, I never got around to putting a link out. You guys got to keep me on task about this. I need to drop that link within the first 10, 15 minutes of the show. If not, it's just not going to work. So please, calls are on the table every night, every show. Please, please, please keep me on task and remind me to put the damn link in. I get so goddamn confused. I want to line up full doubles guys with 20 homer ability hitters first, not started. I want absolutely. We would win with those types of players surrounded by this type of rotation. It would not be a matter of when or if we're winning World Series championships, but when and how many. Absolutely, Ryan, 100%. No Phillies players deserve to start. Ohtani is a DH. Don't forget. Yep. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, no, they can also bring in Schwarber as a backup. Doesn't everybody get like a backup, like the DH? Everybody has a backup position, or they only send one DH? I don't know how. I never really looked into that. Does everybody have a backup spot? Like there's always a reserve player, even for the DH. But I agree with you, Barbara. I don't think any players deserve to start, with maybe the exception of Zach Wheeler. They haven't announced the pitchers yet. The starting pitchers. I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Wheeler made it as a starter. Honestly, wouldn't. Sunday night, I'll remind you to put up the link. Oh, what's this draft is Sunday? It's this week? Yeah, I'm just getting there. Yeah, that's right. It is Sunday. Yeah, it's the week before. Yeah. It'll be in Atlanta. So Phillies will. So I guess we're done. I guess I've done all the profiling of the MLB draft players. So remember those names, folks. Remember Luke Stevenson, Ethan Conrad, Kurt Schoolcraft, and Seth Gamble as potential trade or draft targets for the Phillies at 26 overall in this year's draft. I thought it was next week. I'm all messed up, man. I thought it was next Sunday. Ugh. So that's why you guys are here, man. Again, keep me on task. Remind me to put that damn link for the call-ins within the first 10 minutes of the show, please. All right, that brings me to my favorite part of the night. All right. So yes, the card review segment. This is the favorite part of the night where I get an opportunity to talk about one of my passions, and that's sports cards collecting. And we do it here on the show pretty regularly. Tonight, we're staying in the trend of the modern. You can't get more modern than 2025. And that's right. We're doing a 2025 Top Series 1 card on the program. I sold yesterday a 2025 Andrew McCutchen Top Series 1 gold border card for $4. Somebody bought an Andrew McCutchen 2025 Topps card off of me for $4. Now you can research it if you want. It's 2025 Series 1 Andrew McCutchen gold, and it's got a gold shimmery border around it. That's all it is. But somebody actually out there, and I put it up on eBay just as a lark, let me see if it garners any attention. I sold that thing like 4 hours later after putting it up online. Somebody from a place called Oak Springs, Pennsylvania. I imagine it's probably out in the Pittsburgh area. But they bought a 2025 McCutchen off me for $4. you never know what you got, man, until you got it. And so uh, wonders never fail. But tonight's 2025 Topps Series 1, this is a no-brainer. This is on a player that's going to have valuable baseball cards between now and the day he hangs them up, or in the very foreseeable future. This is probably the most prolific pitcher in all of baseball today, and he resides with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And, of course, you guys already know who I'm talking about. And that is a friend of the show's because we talk about him quite a bit. We'll talk about him quite often. It is Mr. Paul Skeens, and this is his 2025 Topps Series 1. It's the throwback insert 35th anniversary Topps card from 1990 style, of course. For those of you that collected baseball cards back in 1990, it was the 35th anniversary of Topps, and every card had this little stamp on it, that 35 stamp. And this was how all the cards looked, the borders and everything. Every year, Topps kind of pays homage to that year by throwing out select cards of select current players in the 1990 motif. And this year, one of the players honored was Paul Skeens. This is his 2025. He's got the rookie cup there. Now, it's a little bit of a misnomer here. This is not official. This is not his official rookie card. His rookie card actually is part of the 2024 Topps set. We've spoken about that quite a bit as well in this program. The infamous Topps Chrome updated Paul Skeens 1/1 auto relic that went for $1.19 million in auction this spring. That's part of his 2024 rookie cards. The only rookie card I have of Skeens from 2024 is his holiday card, which is really not worth much. But this is a guy a lot like Aaron Judge, a lot like Shohei Ohtani, a lot like before his career kind of went off the track, Mike Trout. But these are these types of cards from these types of players that no matter what year you have the ability to pick up a card from, you need to pick them up and hold on to them, because you don't know the ceiling of what these players are. Right now, Paul Skeens looks like to be going down in history as the greatest pitcher ever. But we all know that might not happen. But right now, you buy high and you try to sell high as well. And tonight's card is the 2025 Skeens. Now, this card is in different varieties within Series 1. They have a of 50 serial numbered 1 through 50 version of this card that's floating around. Now, if you would happen to come across that, you'll see it on the back of the card. If you flip it over, it'll be right there next to his name. It'll say 1 of 50, 2 of 50, whatever of 50. Now, if you happen to pull that card, you're sitting on about a $150 card as a PSA 10. If you happen to pull this card without it being serialized, you're sitting on about a $7 card right now, which, as I said, for a 2025 base card that's in the Topps Gold anniversary format of a player like Paul Skeens with the rookie cup. Now, again, I want to point this out. This is not, I repeat, not his rookie card. But still, a $7 card. Don't forget, these packs of cards cost about $5. So you've already made back your investment over the pack of cards that you found them in. So you pick them up, you set it aside, or you trade them. I happen to have about 7 of these cards. So I actually have 2 of them currently up on eBay right now, sort of just testing the water, see if I can get something for it. But again, the Paul Skeens in the 1990 35th anniversary Topps motif, the borders from the 1990 card, the 35th anniversary stamp there, and pretty smart looking card. Again, a player that is right now one of the hottest names in all of baseball. And a question that's, I think, picking up some steam is whether or not he finishes his season as a Pirate. But Paul Skeens is our card review of the night, and I hope you enjoyed that. Again, if you can have the opportunity to pick up Paul Skeens, you got to do it. It's next Sunday. What's next Sunday? The draft. Of course. Yes, Joe, you're confusing me, man. You're right. It is next Sunday. It's the Sunday before the All-Star game. It's part of All-Star weekend, even though technically everybody's still playing. they start the festivities in Atlanta this year early. They have the Futures game and they have the draft over the weekend. Yes. You see, I knew I was right. God damn it. I knew I was right. Good show. Oh, thank you, Michael Papernick. Oh my God, I love Skeens. Lively is so lucky. Oh man. Great shows. Always have a great holiday. Listen, everybody. I thank you, Joe, and I wish you all the same. Happy Independence Day, everybody. Stay safe, stay happy. Enjoy being a member of the greatest country on the face of the earth, and celebrate our rebellious forefathers' actions on this day back in 1776, as they said, enough's enough. We're going to go on it alone. And if you happen to be traveling to a foreign country, like I just did, by the way, also never been to Canada before via automobile. So I went through my first border crossing experience. Not an issue. Actually, it was pretty smooth. Matter of fact, no problems at all. I love the questions. What's your purpose in Canada? Well, what the hell do you think my purpose in Canada is? To take over the country, God damn it. Of course. I wasn't going to get smarky with them. Baseball game, sir. Thank you. Just overnight. I'll be back tomorrow. And then when I came back into the United States today, I got actually more static from that guy than I did from the Canadian guy. Are you a U.S. citizen? Yeah. I'm giving you my enhanced driver's license, along with my retired military ID card. All right. And here's everyone else's ID, along with this, my stepkids' birth certificates. Yeah, we're citizens. So I got more static from that guy than I did from the guy from Canada. But no, overall, not a problem. So it was a good experience. But happy Independence Day. Don't take advantage. Don't overlook what you got here. I know we're not perfect, and by far we are not a perfect society, nor we are a perfect country, but we're the best we got. And as I said, as I was tooling through Canada yesterday, you can have it, man. It's not for me. With all of our imperfections, with all of our hate, with all of our division, with all of everything, I'll take this country over any other country 100 times a day, easily. So enjoy Independence Day. Enjoy being an American. Enjoy baseball, as I said. Hopefully, and the Phillies are playing. It's not a given every year. It's not. It's almost like a crapshoot whether or not they're playing on July 4th. I think it should be a federal law. Every baseball team at every level should be playing on July the 4th somewhere in this country. Celebrate the nation's birthday with the national pastime. But the Phillies will be in attendance. If you're going down to the bank, enjoy yourself. Celebrate. Stay safe. Stay happy. Have a great weekend. And don't forget us here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. We are not going anywhere. We'll be here this weekend. So take us with you wherever you're going. We'll be there for you. So hopefully you're there for us until we talk again tomorrow. And I'll see you on Sunday for both the Titans final and this show, as we'll come back. Actually, I'm not sure if we'll be doing this show on Sunday night, but because I'm back at work Sunday night. So we'll say for now we are, but I will definitely see you for the Titans final on Sunday afternoon. So you guys have a great rest of your night, a great day tomorrow, a great holiday weekend. Happy Independence Day. We'll talk soon.